Hey guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? I was looking at my inventory of books that I can read without getting yelled at, and I'm like in rush mode, not because I don't want you all to catch up with the books. It's because I don't know how much longer I'm going to have the internet and the lights. So I'm going to try to speed read through everything as best as possible so that I can get as many books, not leaving anybody high and dry if shit does go down in a bad way. And I'm not asking for the universe to do that to me, but I'm being realistic. You know, thinking positively without being realistic isn't a good thing, because then I would be sitting back and allowing the universe to screw me and putting power to my words. So any help that you guys can do is appreciated. I've received a lot of help, and it's been 6 months. So I've had a lot of help. A lot of people have helped me out, and I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I really do. I got co-host number 2 over here, Mr. Ethan, who allowed me to get a big pimple popped. He had a boil, like a cyst, on top of his head, and it was like very scary because I had no idea if it was a tumor or growth. And lo and behold, it was a pimple. Gross. I was Dr. Pimple Popper on a kitty. He still has a little bit left, but I'm not going to traumatize him today because he's sitting so diligently keeping me warm. It is still freezing here in New York. It's 45. To me, that's not really cold, but like it's April and it's now going into mid-April. It shouldn't be this cold. So, yeah. I'm going to read The Key to the Universe. This is going to be chapter 13. This is continuing on the number 3, which was very lengthy. And hopefully my teeth stay up today and don't cause me lots of hell. It was fine when I did my oracle readings earlier. Check those out. I put those up because some people like them. I have another channel for my oracle cards and my readings, but I feel that sometimes people feel very stuck. I channel spirit through them. So it's really spirit talking, and it's collectively, it's whatever resonates with you, general kind of stuff. But I do personal readings, just to put that out there. So check it out. There's nothing wrong with them. It's not tarot. I do use tarot here and there, but I'm not an efficient reader to be whipping out a hole, even though I have 4 decks of tarot, different cards. And we'll be discovering that in a little bit after these chapters here. We already went over 2. Okay. And I do need glasses, FYI, and I can't afford to go to the eye doctor because everything gets blurry. So I do apologize for mispronunciations and reading over things twice. I don't mean to do it, and I don't try to butcher things. I'm dyslexic, FYI too. I have a lot of problems. I'm overcoming them. Number 3 continued. Quote, the perfect word is the triad because it supposes an intelligent principle, a speaking principle, and a principle spoken. Transcendental magic, Levi. Quote, the heavens are produced from fire, the earth from water, and the air from the spirit. as a reconcilier between the fire and the water. Sefer Yitzhariah. I hope I'm saying his name right. Number 3 is, quote, the word made flesh and dwelling among us, end quote. For it is the baseline or the magnetic attraction which unites the positive and negative forces and completes the triangle. Similarly, the sun is a manifestation of the Trinity as force, heat, light, and electricity, all of which are expressions of the divine spiritual fire, or, quote, cold flame, end quote, represented by number 1. The spiritual flame cannot enter the physical plane without manifesting these 3 aspects. Science tells us that if a gas, and theoretically all substances were in a gaseous state, could be reduced to a temperature called, quote, absolute zero, end quote, it would disappear or cease to exist. Hence, heat is a primal requisite for any form of manifestation. When heat is increased or its vibration raised to a certain degree, light appears. And when the node of vibration is still further increased, electricity or radiant energy manifests. That's a good note. Number 1, in one sense, may be compared to man and to heat of the sun, its active principle. Number 2, to women or the light of the sun, its passive principle, while number 3 would stand for the sun or the magnetism which exists between positive and negative, heat and light, man and woman. Here comes co-host number 1. That the two may manifest in oneness of being. From another standpoint, heaven, the light of the sun, sent forth to redeem the darkness, while the magnetism would be the Holy Ghost, the unseen magnetic energy, which is forever with us. If the comforter, in that it reconciles the extremes or parts of opposites, the revealer which shows them in their true relations, it shall bring all things to our remembrance, that we may never forget the fact that no matter how lost in the darkness we may seem to be, we can always see the light shining from our Father's home to illuminate our path if we will, but turn our faces toward it. As we realize that this spiritual magnetism pervades us and our body, brain, and consciousness, as it pervades all nature and the universe, we find that it is a link which binds the microcosm, man, to the macrocosm. Hence, just as a paleontologist can reconstruct a prehistoric animal from one bone, so can we. If we find within ourselves one substance that is identical to man, nature, and cosmos, or one thread running through and connecting all by study that substance and correlating our conscious with the thread, bringing all things to our remembrance, from man being a ray from the divine, does not so much acquire new knowledge as he gradually remembers the knowledge that was in his realms of the divine, his Father's home. I spoke of that with the Law of One yesterday. That was in the Law 1. Heat is the result of the resistance offered by matter to the activity of the spiritual flame. Heat may be said to be the lowest and most physical expression or body of fire. Light is produced by the overcoming of the resistance that a greater expression of fire, its soul, so to speak, may manifest. Electricity or radiant energy may be considered as a spirit of divine fire, just as heat is its body and light, or solar fire its soul. Hence, electricity or radiant energy is the most potent of all known manifestations of force. But man has yet touched only its outer and most gross manifestation, for he scarce knows the ABC of that power of which electricity is but one manifestation. As he enters the new subrace, the discovery of other and greater aspects and manifestations of power will be the opening of the door, which will admit him into a new world of force and energy. But as long as he is capable of utilizing his knowledge of the higher forms of force for selfish purposes and for the destruction of his fellow man through engines of war, etc., the door will be kept closed against him. Pause. That happened. How so, Allison? How did that happen? Well, the evil people who kept everything to themselves did not share the fact that we have free energy, that Tesla was onto something, that he actually made free energy. And they didn't want that because why? Oh, we have to tax you on everything and we have to charge you for it. So your electric isn't free. You pay for it and it's taxed. And they kept all of that to themselves. Doesn't that make sense? And the fact that we want to go to electric everything isn't good either, because where do they mine those batteries? As if mining materials and enslaving people to do such things that are very dangerous and harmful to their health. Where do you think solar stuff comes from? Yeah, it's great. But ask yourselves, where do they mine the materials to get those things? BINGO, because communism was his name-o. Sorry, my co-host number one. Just being clingy. All life is a manifestation of the Trinity, or number three. But since man has not yet mastered its three expressions, he is subject to them. When he completes the creation of his spiritual or hang on. Nirmanakaya body, the heat will manifest as the glow of immortal youth and health, the light as divine illumination, and the electricity as a spirit permeating every atom of the body. Then shall man be master of all his forces. Since the density of the physical body of unevolved man, together with his mental darkness, offers great resistance to the manifestation of the spiritual fire and prevents him from working in harmony with the divine life force, physical and mental suffering result. The perpetual state of fear that has been placed and plagued upon man, because you need to obey, and if you don't obey the narrative, oh boy, you're gonna die really bad. Not really. Some people might say, we're afraid. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Stop fearing, stop eating the evil. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Hence, the result of the resistance to divine law are represented by a hell of blackness, intolerable heat and suffering, the Christian idea of hell, while the heaven world in which the resistance is overcome, is represented as a realm of glorious light and joy, the spirit being the power which converts the hell into a heaven. Similarly, electricity corresponds to the magnetic force which forms the path and meditates between heaven and hell, or the Christ which descends into hell as a consuming fire but dwells in heaven as a radiant light. The tripod has the same symbology as the triangle and was used in many mystic ceremonies in the ancient temples. The most famous was the Delphic tripod or sacrificial altar upon the Platine priests sat while delivering the oracles of the gods. After chewing a sacred hay leaf and drinking from the sacred spring, Casostius, the water of life, the priestess took her seat upon a tripod placed in the inner shrine, and there answered the question that had been previously submitted in writing. In other words, hang on, guys. Before receiving the revelation from the divine, the virgin priestess must drink of the true spiritual waters of life, must have received the illumination of divine wisdom, so that her eyes are open and her mind illuminated to comprehend the spiritual symbols given her and translate them into the corresponding terms of allegories. For only such an one can be true priestess and be used as an avenue through which the waters of life can flow forth from the healing of the nations. So much the priests of the home have her eyes open and her mind illuminated through the eon summation of alchemical sacrifice, in which the spiritual power of perfect love turns the waters of life into the wine of the spirit. As the true office of the priests became overlaid with misconceptions, priestcraft, and selfishness too, often the Platonic priestess was but a subjugative medium, or perhaps a clairvoyant who can merely relate what she saw without the illumination of divine wisdom correctly to interpret the vision seen, hence the subsequent degradation of her high office. Another celebrated tripod was the Platine. This was made from the 10th part of the spoils taken from the Parisian army after the Battle of Plataea. It consists of a golden basin supported by a bronze serpent with 3 heads, or 3 serpents intertwined with the golden bowl of which the sacred fire was kept burning. The golden bowl here has the same symbology as the Holy Grail, the receptacle in which the creative Christ force is caught that it may bring forth. So frequently with the tripod used as receptacle for dedicatory offerings to the gods, that there was a street in Athens called the Street of Tripods, from the large number of such tripods dedicated to various gods and containing live coals upon which passing pedestrians could sprinkle incense. Hence, from the true symbology, every home should have its mystical tripod. No priest or priestess of the home who had lit the fire of divine love in the golden bowl need ever fear separation, for all the little differences and inharmonies will be consumed in the purifying flame of love. According to Sefer Yetzirah, the 3 mothers, Alf, Mem, and Shin, are a great mystery, very admirable and most recondite, and sealed with 6 rings, and from them proceed air, fire, and water, which divide into male and female forces. The 3 mothers, Alf, Mem, and Shen, are the foundation. From them spring 3 fathers, and from these have proceeded all things that are in the world. From the fire was made heat, from the water was made cold, and from air was produced the temperature state. Again, a mediator between them. Fire, water, and air are found in man. From fire was formed the head, from the water the belly, and from air was formed the chest, again placed as mediator between the others. In the Bible, we again find the three mothers and the three women at the tomb. The letter M itself means both mother and water, each name beginning with M having some connection with the idea of water or motherhood. For example, Mar or Mary is the sea of the great deep, the mother of all living. In the Kabbalistic Trinity, Kether, Chokmah, and Binah, the third Sufra, Binah, is called understanding. The first Sifra is divine love and the second is wisdom. But so long as they are not joined by the understanding of their divine qualities, there are like two straight lines running side by side, which can never unite until a third line, the mediator, joins them, thus completing the manifestation of the two positive and negative, masculine and feminine. The third Sithra is sometimes called the Great Mother, who springs forth for the lower planes and manifestation. For only through an understanding of divine love and wisdom can we bring them forth in our lives. According to the Kabbalah, the ideas of learned rabbi are as follows. Quote, the soul is veil and light. The light is triple. Neshma, the pure spirit. Rocha, the spirit or soul. Guys, I'm trying with the Hebrew stuff. Nechesh, the plastic mediator. The body is the veil of the nefesh. Nefkesh is the veil of Rocha. Rocha is the veil of the shroud of Nishma. There are three habitations of souls, the abyss of life, the superior Eden, the inner Eden. There are three atmospheres for the souls. The third atmosphere finishes where the planetary attraction of other worlds commences. Souls perfected on this earth pass on another station. After traversing the planets, they come to the sun. Then they ascend into another universe and recommence their planetary evolution from the world to world and from sun to sun. In the sun, they remember, and in planets, they forget. The solar lives are days of eternal life, and the planetary lives are nights with their dreams, end quote. To some extent, that's semi-true. Because you don't just linger in the void like you do go to places. We were reading about that in Urantia and Awaspe. Go check those books out because it all correlates. I mean, they all say different things to describe the same thing, but the modes and transportation of the soul are different, but they all go to the sun or they go to a plane of a higher density existence. It's very interesting. We won't know until we all pass on, and because each soul has a different experience. Each soul arranges its density to where it wants to go and the density that it's matched. So when you die and you see the light, how much light you can absorb is the density you'll end up in. So no one soul, like if I would ask my mom to come and channel through me to tell me the answer to that, she can only tell me from her perspective where she went. Just putting that out there. Noah, who is a symbol of the one God or the spirit of the God moving on the face of the waters, had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. This is an allegory symbolizing that one must manifest on earth as the three Abraham, the father of the living, entertained three angels who told him his wife, or the feminine expression, would bring forth a son in whom all mankind would be blessed. That is, through this son, the subsequent races would manifest the threefold divine fire. The three children of Judah, cast in the fiery furnace by Nebuchadnezzar, symbolize the same thing in another aspect. The fiery furnace represents the resistance of physical matter, hell. I told you we're in hell. And the adverse earthly conditions through which the three expressions of the divine walk unharmed. Jonah spent 3 days in the belly of the great fish. The ministry of Jesus began at 30 and lasted 3 years. He said, destroy this, quote, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will rise it up, end quote. He also lay 3 days in the tomb. All these allegories are glyphs symbolizing the fact that the Father Ray, 1, after descending into the tomb of matter, 2, must remain hidden in the pairs of opposites until the Trinity or triangle can manifest upon the physical plane. 4, thus fulfilling the ancient occult axiom, quote, the unit becomes the 3 and the three generate the 4. Or as the Kabbalah say, quote, the deity is one because it is infinite. It is triple because it is ever manifesting, end quote. Each of the days referred to symbolizes the period required for one aspect to complete its manifestation, and only as man's body becomes able to express in their fullness 3 aspects of the divine fire until the Christ can raise up from the tomb on the 3rd day, can it be raised up to become truly the temple of the living God. Let number 3 remind you of the manifestations of the Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, of the mystical meaning of heat, light, and electricity, of matter, force, and consciousness, of the triangle with its basic solid established on earth, yet ever pointing upward, of man and women united and perfectly balanced in the physical life, yet evolving upward to oneness in the name overshadowing dot or the divine marriage. Let 3 remind you of the 3 parties to the marriage, tie, the man, woman, and the divine overshadowing, hence the beauty and sacredness of the true marriage and the ideal life as long as mankind manifests in separate sexes. Yep. This is very interesting. The 3.5. The 3.5 being half of 7 is frequently referred to with the mystical significance. When the mighty angel in Revelation gave the reed with which to measure the temple of God and the altar, and them that worship therein, the command was given not to measure the outer court, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months, or 3.5 years. This is most significant for the temple of the physical body. While the altar is the inner shrine of the heart, those who truly worship in this sacred temple and find the Christ upon the altar will be measured, will be understood, weighed, and given a just balance. But those who dwell merely in the outer courts, those who dwell merely in the outer sense perceptions, are the Gentiles, the unbelievers, who are not measured or required to live up to the higher standards. They are given another half cycle of 3.5 years to which to learn their lessons, even though they tread the outer courts underfoot. According to tradition, Jesus remained hidden in Egypt for 3.5 years. In the allegory of the woman clothed with the sun, she dwelt in the wilderness 1,203 days, or 3.5 cycles of 360 each. We also read of the mystical 2 witnesses as follows, quote, I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,263 days, end quote. Again, 3.5 years. And all people, quote, shall see that their dead bodies 3 days and a half, end quote. According to Daniel, the misfortunes of the children of Israel were to last for a time and a half. In the life of the sincere seeker after truth, 3.5 represents a most trying and troublous period for the manifestation of the deity. The 3 has descended upon him. The Christ child has been born in his heart, but must be nourished in the obscurity and darkness of Egypt, the outer life. He was consecrated his life to the great work, and his heart is on fire to begin his ministry. Then, in some inexplicable way, life plunges him into the darkness of Egypt, poverty, sickness, or some form of limitation and depression. His hands seem tied, and the great work which he would do, he cannot do. All things seem to prevent him from giving his time, thought, and strength to the upliftment of humanity. The so-called sordid duties of everyday life, which press upon him and demand his attention, he still has to perform while the fights against the clouds of depression which surround him. He has sacrificed his holy temple and daily performed his worship therein. He has set up his altar within the Holy of Holies, where the fires of purification burn continually, fled by the daily sacrifice of the faults, failings, and limitations which he recognizes and consciously desires to transmute. Yet the outer courts are still occupied by the Gentiles, and the noise of their songs and merrymaking, and of their dancing feet ruthlessly treading underfoot in laughing indifference, the things he holds sacred comes constantly to his ears. Sometimes this merely disturbs his worship, but at other times it is disquietly alluring and seductive, for it is hard at this step to know just how to remain in the world, yet not to be of it. But there is a deep significance in the experience of this step, for he is but following the universal law, is but passing through the transitional experiences of 3.5, preparatory to completing his foundation stone in number 4. Chapter 14, the third letter, Gimel. Quote, he produced Gimel and referred it to health. He crowned it, combined, and joined with it Mars in the universe, the second day of the week, and the right ear of man. Sefer Yetzirah. The third letter is Gimel, the second of the 7 double letters, corresponding to our letter G. It is related to health and its opposite, disease, and also to the planet Mars. The force of Mars is the bright red blood or life force of the cosmos. Hence, Mars rules the blood, which preserves the life and health in man. But if the blood be impure, it produces fevers, humors, and divers manners of diseases. Because of this connection of the blood shed in battle, it looked upon as a sacrifice to Mars, the god of life force, of struggle, battle, and overcoming. The force of Mars also brings courage, enthusiasm, and unrelenting effort, which ever pushes on and overcomes all obstacles and difficulties. In its lower aspect, this force manifests in an unfavorable and disintegrating manner through anger, passion, war, and bloodshed. Mars represents the life force referred to in the Bible as the blood of the Lamb slain from the fountain of the world, or the spiritual life force which shall cleanse us from sin, and by the sacrifice of whose shedding we must be redeemed. For just as the physical body is cleansed from the disease and saved from death by being bathed in the purified blood, which must wash each organ and tissue. So must the spiritual life force bathe and purify every phase of our sevenfold being, or we can enter into eternal life. The literal meaning of Gimel is a camel, although the Hebrew name for camel is Gamal. It may require some imagination to see any relation between the letter itself and a camel. Yet the camel bears a very close analogy to the true meaning of the letter, for on account of its ability to store up large quantities of water in desert countries, the camel is looked upon as the carrier of life. Symbolically, Gimel has come to mean that which encloses a hollow tube, or that which transmits vital life force, such as an artery. Hieroglyphically, Gimel means a hand half closed and extended, reaching out like a camel in order to draw to its possessor that which is needed for its own substance. So finally, Gimel comes to mean a hollow tube or canal, like the camel's neck, and in man is sometimes referred to the throat. The throat contains a most important center, for it is here that the ideas conceived in thought and translated into words are enumerated into intelligent sounds. Man alone of all beings has this center developed. Hence, man alone can translate thought into comprehensible speech. Astronomically, Gimel is associated with the star Alcyone in the neck of the bull, Taurus, around which our universe is said to revolve. The Pleiades system. Gimel has sometimes had ascribed to it a phallic meaning, but which, while the phallus may in a sense represent it, since generation is but a reflection in matter of the great mystery by which spirit unites itself to matter, the divine becomes flesh and dwells among us. We can see that it has a far deeper and more sacred meaning when the physical generation, in one sense, just as Elf symbolizes man and the force, and activity of the physical plane, and as Beth symbolizes women, the passive and receptive principle, so Gimel symbolizes the magnetic link between them. Only as this magnetic attraction is regarded by them as a sacred gift entrusted to them to be used to erect in humanity the symbolic temple of Solomon, the temple of wisdom, can man and women, or Elf and Beth, become the two pillars, Jankin and Boaz, with Gimel as the arch which unites the two, completes the portal, the door, through which alone mankind can enter into the Holy of Holies. Here the Christ forever stands and cries, Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. This is the Empress. This is number 3. Notice the symbols. I'll read about number 3. The third tarot card, the Empress. This card is called the Empress and also the Sun, Horus, the vivifying principle of the universe. It is represented as a woman seated and seen full face. She is seated upon the throne of the sun and has 2 great wings. In her right hand is an escutcheon bearing an upright eagle with outspread wings, while in her left hand she holds a scepter summoned by a globe and a symbol of Venus. She is crowned with either 12 stars or a crown with 12 points. This is an updated modern card. So she's only holding the scepter and then her crown. This card as a whole symbolizes the ultimate triumph of the generative force when balanced, lifted up, and purified by the Sun of Righteousness, seated on the throne of this world and crowned with the 12 signs of the zodiac. The eagle is Scorpio, the snake of generative force, lifted up into regeneration, or freed from its perverted aspects and able to soar upward to the sun. The scepter crowned by the symbol of Venus is the power of motherhood, through which she rules and uplifts the generative force. It also indicates that only through the feminine principles of love, intuition, obedience to the forces of the zodiac can the Empress reign in freedom and love. Again, as the eagle is also the symbol of the soul and the scepter the symbol of life, together they indicate the Holy Ghost, the magnetic force of divine love, permeating humanity and attracting mankind back to godhood and the divine marriage, even as man and woman are attracted by a lower manifestation of the same force in ordinary marriage. The crown, whose 12 points represent the 12 stars, indicates the path and power for which humanity can gather up and utilize the 12 forces of the zodiac, but only as the great mother force of love is enthroned in the sun, and the soul, like the eagle, is free to seek its home in the radiant light of divine love. It also indicates when generation is sanctified and illuminated by the spiritual sun, it will be crowned with the 12 powers of the zodiac. Then the iron rod of passion will be turned into the golden scepter of love supreme. Since the Empress combines the feminine principles of love and intuition with the masculine principles of will and power, this symbol indicates the feminine or negative force of the universe has been combined with the masculine or positive force to form the equilibrated force of the sun, or collective humanity, which when it manifests these two forces, equilibrium, shall rule the world. This card also indicates the sacred word Aum, the creator, preserver, and destroyer. The destruction takes place only that out of that which was vile and mighty. Venus, Urana, may recreate higher and better manifestations. This card therefore symbolizes hieroglyphically the conveyor of the life force. Kabbalistically, understanding astronomically, Venus of the spouse of Mars, the conveyor of life force to Earth. The third commandment, quote, "Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord, law, thy God in vain, for the Lord, law, will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain," end quote. Exodus. According to P. Christian, quote, "To pronounce a word is to invoke a thought and make it present, the magnetic potency of human speech, in the commencement of every manifestation in the occult world. To utter a name is not only to define a being, an entity, but to place it under and condemn it through the emission of the word, verbum, to the influence of one or more occult potencies. Things are, for every one of us, that which the world, makes them wild naming them. The word verbum, or the speech of every man, is quite unconsciously to itself a blessing or a curse. They are, in a certain sense, either venomous or a health given according to the hidden influence attached by the supreme wisdom to their elements, that is to say, to the letters which compose them and the numbers correlative to these letters. This is strictly true as the Stoic teaching accepted by the Eastern schools of occultism. End quote. The name referred to in the commandment is not Jehovah, nor the name of any one divine being, but embrace every expression of the divine creative potency. It is fitting that this should be commandment number 3, since 3 is a symbol of the Trinity or threefold expression of the law of thy good. Wait. I moved my mouse. The law of thy good manifesting in all things. This name or signature of the divine law is always expressed as a Trinity, a divine ideation, its outpouring into manifestation or embodiment, and the result produced. In its large sense, therefore, the name of the Lord thy God comprises all the expressions by which the forces back of manifestation and evolution can be invoked. This is the infallible name or expression which man is unable to pronounce in its fullness until he is more than man. While man is the only animal with the power of expressing his conceptions in articulate speech, nevertheless, the vibrations of the creative word, which brought all things into manifestation, reach down into every kingdom of nature and compose the mighty army of the voice. It is through these vibrations invoked by man through the use of words and tones that man affects every kingdom and awakens vibrations corresponding to his words and tones. These vibrations either help to harmonize, evolve, and perfect all expressions of the law, Lord, or they help to create inharmony and resistance to the law, which must result in disintegration and death instead of an integration of life. All words like the sacred Aum contain the Trinity of the number 3 manifesting as the force of creation, preservation, and disintegration. If the forms in the lower kingdom did not die and disintegrate as a result of their response to the unharmonized, hence antagonistic vibrations awakened, sent forth by man, this world would long since have been a vast pandemonium of discordant, hideous sounds and terrifying noises. Since every word uttered invokes the manifestation of certain of these potencies of the 3 or the divine Trinity, words which pervert the reality which they express, words which do not embody and express truth, harmony, and love, as well as words which definitely invoke and express in harmony, slander, and evil, carry with them the seeds of disintegration and death. Therefore, take the name of the Lord thy God, law of divine love and harmony, in vain. It is a most important task for the aspirant who would be more than man, as well as for the man who would be master of himself and his environment, both to speak words that are true and have back of them the potent and constructive forces of good, also to make the tones of his voice express the truth and sincerity of his heart. Quote, but I say unto you that every idle word that man shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words shalt thou be condemned. End quote. Since every letter of every word we speak has a numerical value, and since numerals are symbols of the cosmic expression of divine realities, whose manifestation normally should be and ultimately must obey the divine law of harmony under the guidance of one of the 10 Sethera, all misused words are inevitably set up in harmony. And in the process of bringing harmony out of such perversions of the great law of karma will not hold him. The one speaking the false or inharmonies words, guiltless. Therefore, while cursing and blaspheming may be called the extreme of taking the name of the Lord in vain, nevertheless, we take the name in vain in many lesser degrees indicated above. While none of us are guiltless, Yet the karmic law metes out exact justice to all. The great mass of humanity who thoughtlessly and ignorantly take the name in vain suffer from the results in a general way. Through the inharmonies expressed through nature, climate conditions, storms, earthquakes, disease, germs, the antagonism of the lower kingdoms, and all the various disintegrating manifestations of the army of the voice. Still, those who willfully and with malice in their hearts slander, lie, curse, blasphemy, and defy the Lord, their God, either as a supreme being or as their fellow man, made in his image, literally deity, the law of their good, and hence will reap a personal karma of inharmony, suffering, disease, disintegration, and death, commemorate with the forces they, as creators, have thus invoked to manifest through them. While the law cannot hold us guiltless, until by full understanding and determined effort, we have fully grasped its mighty truth and become one with it, until we have lived it and expressed the name in all its aspects in our flesh. Nevertheless, the law rewards in exact justice every effort towards manifesting its harmony and love through the righteous use of speech, through speech that is true, kind, and loving. Every false or inharmonious expression that is conquered and replaced by a true and harmonious one is like a radiant star in the firmament of our lives, which will never be extinguished, but will go on shedding upon us its light, life, and power until the sun of righteousness shine, rise, and flood all our world with the light of the new day. I'm going to leave it there. Very interesting. So I did some research about spellcasting. And why I did that is because the words we project and speak is spellcasting. Everything you say, you put into a sentence and form is a semi type of spell. That's why these evil things get away with what they do, because they speak everything into existence and manifest it, and it's all bad. So how are we going to spellcast better? Because we're speaking things into existence. So how can you speak righteousness and speak good into the world? Is by speaking truth, your truth. Everybody's truth is different. That's why we all need to start getting on the same damn page, so we don't have to end up where we are now and repeat another 75,000 year cycle of hell, which, by the way, we're on right now. Hell. And words in different dictionaries from when this book was probably written were different meanings. A lot of inversion happened. A lot of Orwellian things has happened to our words and meanings. Things tend to change. Some things don't need to change. And it's getting really scary how the interpretation of words have changed as well. And the definitions are changing and molding into societal norms, which are just narratives. So I'm going to leave it there. Next is number 4. So we have number 3, the Empress. And a sneak peek of number 4, the Emperor. This is Mr. Aries, by the way. This is me. I embody the Emperor. So I hope you enjoyed that. I very much did. A lot to think about, especially with the number 3 and the 3.5 and the Empress card. Please make sure you hit that like button. Spread the word. Subscribe. Do what you can to help me out. It's free. It helps me. It helps get this information out there. There's a lot of people who cannot read these books. They work, they have families, but sometimes they have moments in the day that they can start listening to it and gaining the knowledge, and that's why I'm doing it. We have to come together as a community and do what we can to help others out, and this is my way of helping out humanity. And reading all types of books, different perceptions. Again, you don't need to resonate with each and every one that I read. There might be things that you don't agree with, and that's fine. It's just the idea of opening up your mind to thinking differently, to looking at all possibilities instead of the narrow-minded of one way, and that's the highway, and that's it. Everything else goes off to the side. Nope, 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 nope. When you shut yourself down to other possibilities, you're not really learning anything more than what you already know. And you tend not to listen to other ideas when you close your mind off. So this is a way to help other people open up and expand their thinking. You don't have to agree with it, but when you hear other sides of things, there might be things you might be able to take away from it that will help you in your personal life. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't know until you listen and hear. But if you shut it out, you're not going to get anywhere. At least by listening to different viewpoints and different perspectives and different takes on different things that most people are shut down to, we're going to better this world. Because at least you'll know about it. And you'll be more understanding and comprehending how other people are thinking and like tackling a topic in your everyday life. So please share. If you have it within you to help me out, a love donation is very appreciated. I don't know what I'm going to do for Saturday. It is my birthday. I'm trying to keep it together and trying to distract my mind from all the hell that I am embracing and going through at the moment. I might do a live. I'll see. I might put an announcement out there. Trying to see if you want me to go live. I don't know what I'm going to do, but we'll do something. Write in the comments. I'm interested to see how many people would enjoy having a live. And hopefully it works, because the last time I tried to go live, it didn't work. So we'll see. Have a great night, guys. Sending each and every one of you love and light. Please be safe. The next couple of days in the Midwest, the United States, is going to get slammed with heavy and really bad weather. So please take precautions and be safe. My prayers are with all of you. Be weather aware and tune into your local meteorologist podcasters. Ryan Hall, y'all, is one that I watch. Vince Welty, Reed Timmer. They're amazing. There's a lot of other guys out there that I watch for weather. They're up to date, and their live streams are fun. Sometimes they're boring, but it's good to put in the background. Be weather aware. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye.